I did say I was going to do a live, but, I don't know. Oh, come on, Jim. La da da, la da dee, la da lo. Okay. Well, I got one person. Could be anybody. Could be mom. Could be Jerry Ann. It could be somebody who just doesn't want to chat. Want to sit in the background and, you know, see what happens. Oh, hello. Deidre, sorry. I can't read on my screen here. And I didn't want to use my iPad because it's probably got enough juice, but I just, I see better on my iPad, you know. But I see I have 19 people in here, and it's good to have them all here. Excuse me. I'm having dry skin issues on one side of my nose, and I just put some hydrating cream on, and the one side that's having problems with dry skin just absorbed it like a sponge. Anyhow, I know I haven't done a live in 2 to 3 weeks. And most of that is, usually by the time Jerry's done with her live, I'm ready to lay down and take a nap. Today, I'm probably not going to. It's already almost 3:30, and I want to try to stay awake. Yes, make my breakfast. I wash my face morning and evening time. Morning time just to refresh and wake up, and then put my lotion on. And then evening time just to get rid of any dirt and grime that might be on my face from whatever I'm doing, between cooking with the grease and whatnot in the air, or not just grease, but just particles in the air. Um, whatever dusting I might do, whatever cleaning I might do, um, whatever yard work I might do. I just want to make sure that when I go to bed, my face is clean, so I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night or early morning, like scratching like crazy, trying to pick at my skin. Um, the dermatologist can't really do much about it. It is a type of um, combination of stress and heat, because I don't have this problem in the wintertime. And lately, with all the things that's been going on since mom moved out, it's not that it's 100% stress, but it's just like stuff that gnaws on my brain, at various hours of the day. But it is a type of psoriasis, especially in my scalp. So, last time I went to a dermatologist was probably about 2 years ago. And since they didn't have any, like, suggestions, they just said, face scrub and Selsun Blue or tea tree, or they gave me a variety of items to use. The thing is the way my chemistry is. I can use an item or a product for a couple months, a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months, and then by the middle of the third month, um, my scalp is back to being dry and whatnot from the elements and whatever, and then I have to switch to a different shampoo, and I'm like, no. Um, Monthly injections, I might look into that. I might talk to my primary, since I don't think my old dermatologist is on my insurance. Jerry had a dermatologist, and we can't use her anymore because she doesn't use Medicaid, or she doesn't go with the Medicaid system, which I can understand. I mean, sometimes the doctors don't get as much money through the insurance. And of course, nowadays, because of the way things are, God only knows who's taking what kind of insurance, or government supplied or government subsidy insurance, or now I'm going to say Obamacare, because he's the one who got, this free medical for those who can't afford it, and I appreciate that, even though we're not going to get into politics. So I'm not even going to mention how I feel about today's governmental systems. And anyhow, let's not go there. Um, but yeah, I try to take care of myself and my body and whatnot as much as I can. Unfortunately, and I'll be honest with this, unfortunately, because the way things are going with trying to set up for the yard sale and worrying about Jerry and her new symptoms that are cropping up, and me sitting there going, contact your doctor, talk to your doctor, get a body scan, get whatever testing you can do to see what's going on, whether it's a cancer related issue or just just getting up there in age with her current cancer situation. Um, so it's, I've been, my mind has not been focused lately on myself as much as it used to be, when I felt like I could take more care of myself, because there's just so much going on. And the way my mind is and the way I function is, I care about other people more than myself. I will take care of Jerry um, as best as I can and forget about my own self care. Luckily, I do get some time in the evening after 8 p.m. when Jerry and Oreo go lay down, and I will either come in here and play video games on my computer, or until after the yard sale, I don't have a working table for me to use to read the Bible or just journal. You know, whether you want to call it a journal or a diary, it's up to you. But my area that I had the table is kind of a mess of stuff that was organized at one point in time. I got to reorganize it and decide what I'm going to do with it, because the the plan. Yes, we actually had two people yesterday come to the yard sale. The plan is, once the yard sale is over with, and that front room is cleared of stuff that we want to get rid of, um, I'm going to take Mom's old computer setup, except for the drawers that she had, and move it into the big living room so I can set it up in there until we remove the carpet in this room and in Mom's two rooms. That's when we're able to basically either own the house, or Mom gives us the okay to do it. Um, we have a lot of ideas. Somebody did suggest in Jerry's Live to downsize into a smaller house, which I'm all for. But how do you downsize into a smaller house when um, you don't have the money to do it? And the money would basically have to be whatever comes out of this house that Mom does. Mom basically lets us take. Um, I've seen a lot of nice houses or places that are like a 3 bedroom, maybe a 4 bedroom, 1.5 bath for under like $800 a month, according to their calculations. But you know, until certain things happen, there's not much we can do. So, and I know my mom will not. She won't kick us out unless, well, unless we can't put money down on our payments. Um, well, I shouldn't even been talking about that because actually that's one of my no-nos, not to talk about budgeting or money. So whatever happens is between me and mom, you know. So, you know, I'm not going to answer that question because that's one, that's not really your business. And two, it's not up to you what mom decides to do or how she wants to do things, you know, for the house sale. So we're not going to talk about that. But things have actually, you know, I will say that things have been a little tight lately. But we're we're doing everything we can to at least make the mortgage. Um, because that's more important to for me and Jerry to deal with than um, as the saying goes, rob Peter to pay Paul. Um, but I'd rather talk about other things. Miss Oreo, you what are you? Yeah, you want to lay down for a nap, don't you? I should have just taken you for a nap and tried to do this later on in the evening, right? Yeah, I should have. But I wanted certain people to be up if they can make it to this video. I know Nellie said she had some important stuff to do, so I don't expect to see Nellie for a bit. So the three things we don't talk about this on this channel: money, politics, and Jerry. Because if Jerry has anything to say, she will say it on her videos. She has. There are times when we've gone in there, even if it's before 8 p.m., where she's actually gone in with Jerry Ann, because Jerry Ann will sometimes go in there early to lay down, like maybe about 6:30, 7 o'clock, whatever, at least an hour after dinner. And she knows when it's getting close to 8 o'clock, and she will go, if the door to her kennel, crib, what we're going to call it, is not open, she actually knows how to open it with her nose. Because I don't lock it unless she's in there overnight. So she knows how to open that, just nudge it just right to get her nose in there so that she can open the door. But nine times out of 10 in the morning time, I don't close the door. I just let it stay where it is, If it stays open, it stays open. If it doesn't, I'm not too worried about it because I know she can get in there on her own. What are you doing, you goofy dog? She cannot roll over and lay on her backside. So she'll be as far rolled over as possible with one leg up in the air. She's a goofy dog. But she's a good dog. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I can't get down there right now. I'm doing something. I know. But, ouch. Her and her head is like a block. I mean, she hits you just right with that head or that snout of hers. It can hurt a little. And then she apologizes for it. Don't you? Don't look at me like that. I know. Oh yeah, she's got. Somehow she managed to get two big bones out of us, because one was hidden in the living room. She couldn't find it, so We gave her one for the bedroom, and then we found the other one, and then she ended up having two in the living room. And anytime she acts like she wants another one in the for the bedroom, I just grab one out of the living room, and she's happy to chew on it. My only difficulty or complaint about it is when she wants to like put it up against my leg, whether it's my thigh or whatever, thigh, ankle. She'll like, you know, she'll be chewing on it while holding it, but the pressure of holding on it and chewing on it causes discomfort in my leg. So I have to take the bone from her and try to move it so she's more in the middle of the bed instead of against my leg. We usually order them off of Amazon. The last bag of bones we got, which were like 10 of those big sized bones, and she can chew on it for a week or more or so before she's done with it, and which is good because then we don't have to worry about getting them or actually that bag of bones I think came as a gift to Oreo from can't remember if it was from Nelly or somebody else, but it was from one of our viewers. Hey, Kicking and Wicking, glad to see you. Um, they've been busy. The last 3 or 4 weeks, we've been planning and planning and planning, and finally got to do the yard sale. Unfortunately, it was one of those haphazard advertising deals, so we only got like actually two people. But between those two people and mom's friend Carla, who bought some stuff, we've made about $25. And we're planning on this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to redo the yard sale, but we're going to get better signs. We're going to get a hold of the local, either the local news channel or the local radio channel, and possibly K-Love, which is our local Christian radio station, and ask them how much it would cost for them to advertise the yard sale, you know, per at least 2 days. But yeah, we've been busy. We've been busy. Unfortunately, Jerry's been having some reoccurring or some more. The way she would describe it was possible cancer pains because they're in. She's having pains in her kidney, or kidneys. I don't know. I tell her that she needs to get a hold of the doctors and get a new scan done so she can, so her and the doctors can decide if they need to do chemo or what. Because she's not doing the actual chemo, she's doing pill. No, she's not even doing chemo pill. She's totally off chemo. But I think she needs to go back on chemo. I know it sucked and it caused a lot of problems, but maybe something she has to do. Yes, some radio stations will do it. I don't know how much it would cost. We don't really have a newspaper in town. We have, we do have a Phelps County paper, but they only produce the paper like once a week or once a month. I don't know anymore because I don't see them when I go out. But I know we've got 3 stations that I've heard in town. That's KTTR, which is a country and western station. We have Jack FM, which is like 80s, 90s type music. And then we have K-Love, which is a Christian radio station. So I'm going to try to email them or call them tomorrow and ask and see how much it costs, if it costs anything. They might ask for a donation, and we'll try to put in a donation. As for the other 2 channels here in town, again, I don't know if it would cost anything. But I try to advertise on the internet, on Instagram and Facebook. Um, but a lot of the locals here in town, um, they rely on advertisements other than digital. So I gotta get and make better signs to put out for next next week. Um, oh yeah, I take care of her. You know me, kicking. I take the greatest care I can. I mean, cook, clean, laundry. You know, I don't complain when she decides that she wants to just lay in bed. I just try to get her out for an hour or two, just so she's not in bed all the time, causing other issues. Besides, it's Sunday. I need to strip the bed and put the clean sheets on, and then wash the sheets that that are on the bed. So I think I did advertise on Marketplace, but I'm not 100% sure. I know I advertised on my main face page, my main page, which usually goes out to the general public so that anybody can see it. But yeah, I think we did put it on Marketplace. Problem is that we didn't recirculate like a lot of event coordinators will do on Marketplace. They'll put it up there, and then they'll go back an hour or two later and recirculate or add, adjust the information or update the information. So I wasn't diligent with that because I'm just like put it up there and pray for rain, you know, which we need here in Rolla. There was supposed to be a rainstorm this weekend, and I set up like a picnic umbrella. The umbrellas in the stand that usually goes through a table of some sort. I set that up, had that open up by the our Arcadia door, which was supposed to be the entrance point, and the exit point was supposed to be through the kitchen into the carport. So we had it kind of set up like if it does rain, at least they won't have to stand out there in the rain, that kind of thing. So, um, well, I think Jerry Ann wants to try to keep it. I'm not sure. I mean, we've got a lot of major major price items like we've got an old oak table, we've got an old antique, I don't know how old table, we've got um, a 6 foot ladder that I can't use anymore because I can't climb heights. I can't climb that high anymore because it causes me to get like dizzy. Um, and I don't know if it's a fear of heights or not because I've never been afraid of heights. I mean, I've climbed trees. I've demanded the window seat when we traveled overseas when my dad was alive and in the Air Force. I think the only time we traveled overseas that I didn't get the window seat, mom, I don't, can't remember. Yeah, I think mom wanted it because mom and dad wanted me in the middle on the way to Germany, and I had fallen asleep. And over, I can't remember if my mom said it was over Iceland or over like Denmark or someplace there. We were getting into the approach lane to land at Frankfurt Airport, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up going, I don't want to go. I want to go back. I must have had a weird dream or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think mom. I'm not mom. I don't think Jerry's gonna sell that scooter. Um, I mean, I could talk to her, but I think she wants to keep it just in case somewhere down the line that's basically her only mode of transportation. Of course, I'd like to get her something smaller because that thing is bulky and not really good for indoors, especially inside of the house. So it would be smarter for her to have something smaller to move around. Oops. All right. Um, let's see here. I just got a warning that it's time to take my Ritalin. Yeah. Okay. Ritalin is actually doing me good. It's helping keep my head as clear as possible, but emotionally, it's keeping me from like having a meltdown or stuff like that. Um, we did it once. Um, very short distance. Um, our biggest problem was Oreo did not know how to, and she just needs more training, I think. Didn't know how to walk with the rollator or the scooter. I call it a rollator, but it's a scooter. It's motorized, and almost ran her over twice. And I said, I don't think this is a good idea until we can get her used to being on a leash next to her. Pain pills, the only pain pills I take is Tylenol. Regular over the counter Tylenol. Um, if I have another pain pill in there, it's. No, I don't. I don't. I just realized I don't. Because if I had a specific pain pill, I couldn't take the Tylenol. But I take Tylenol for pain, and once in a blue moon, I try to take something stronger, or I try to use um, other methods like the lidocaine patches that go on the outside, and between that and Tylenol, it helps out because then you've got the Tylenol, which is affecting your insides from the inside, and then you've got the lidocaine patch right over the spot that is causing pain, and so I double team it with an external internal type deal. Um, but I don't have any like prescription pain pills, which um, is it August? But where is my calendar? Let's see here. Nope, not that. That's not what I want either. I know sometime in the beginning of August I have an appointment to get my back taken care of. Basically I talked to my pain specialist doctor, and they said they're going to try a shot. They're going to do 2 different shots, and if those work, they're just going to continue with the shots. If they don't work, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to have my nerves down there by my nerves in my lower back ablazed, just like Jerry did. The thing about my back issue is, if I remember right, the doctor, my last scan, basically said most of my problem in my lower back is arthritic, and there's not much they can do about that without, a risk. I do not remember the name of the shot. So I have tried the Voltaren Rub-On Cream. It does work. Unfortunately, expense-wise, we can't always afford the Voltaren, unless I can find a way to get it for cheaper from CVS or someplace like that. I've been actually thinking about getting onto that Good RX, where they can compare prices and hopefully lower prices for medications, basically over-the-counter medications that are not covered by my insurance. So, but that's what I'm planning. Oreo, what are you doing, goofball? What? Trying to sneak around? I know you're smelling everything in God's green earth in this room. I've got a lot of, it's my stuff. You know, a lot of it was either on a bookcase or in a dresser or not a dresser, but a chest of drawers. You can call it a dresser, I guess. Um, Oreo, hey, no eating stuff off my floor because it's probably not good for you. What you got? Give it here. Give it. Give it. Give it. Okay, I have no idea what that was. Looked like something that was in a box that came out of the box in a little piece of paper. I'll have to look into that. Make my brother probably talk to my pain doctor or my primary, whoever I see next. I think the person was. Oh, that's right. Monday I gotta call the dentist, see if I can come in and get measured for my dentures. Um, See if I'm healed up enough, or cured, or not cured, healed up enough for my dentures. Uh, but I have a feeling this next week coming is going to be mostly like straighten up the yard sale stuff. See if there's any other things that we can put out there, which I know there is. Um, and then try to get better advertising, posting, whatever. So this week is going to be like a combination of rest, relax, take it easy, don't rush, but don't like just fall behind so that Friday morning is a last minute rush. Somebody suggested starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I'm not an early bird. Jerry is not either anymore because of her. We both have sleep issues. Um, I know she does because she'll wake me up or make it hard for me to fall asleep because of snoring, and that's something that she can't control. That's a breathing issue. I know I snore because my parents used to tell me about it. I mean, I've been because I'm a mouth breather. I don't breathe that often through my nose. So if something's happening in my throat, sore throat, congestion, whatever, I snore. Um, that and when I was younger, I used to be a back sleeper, so I was always sleeping on my back with my head propped up. That's probably why I got neck problems in my upper vertebrae. But after getting married, or actually, I think it started before I got married. I started sleeping either on my side or my stomach, mostly on my sides. So you know, one reason or another, between allergies and the way I slept and whatnot, I know I'm a snorer. In fact, I had a doctor who was trying to get after I did my first colonoscopy, and they after I was coming out of anesthesia, they told me that I should go see a doctor for sleep apnea because they had to. Now I don't remember if they said restart or they had to intubate me for breathing because I had stopped breathing twice, and I was like, ooh. And I went to see the doctor, and the doctor got me in touch with a sleep study doctor who was based in St. Louis, but they were going to do the test here in Rolla, and my insurance was like, no, we can't allow you to do that because there's not enough information. Well, the only way they're going to get the information is if I do the sleep study because I've already had a nurse practitioner tell me that I stopped breathing twice. Like, I don't know. So, yeah, it didn't. I think the worst part of the colonoscopy was more of the pre-cleanse before going in to see it, because that was just like, oh my God. They wanted me to they wanted me to take Gatorade and pour half a bottle, not really a big bottle, but still, it was a half a bottle of this powder, and shake it up and drink that throughout the day for 3 days not post, prior colonoscopy. And I was like, not to get graphic, but basically I nearly camped out on the toilet. And then coming home from it was like, oh my God. I was tired. I was sore. I was just like, and I don't mean sore from what they did, but just the way it felt afterwards. Yeah, I did have issues for quite some time. And I do remember they were telling me that for the most part, my colon was looking good. It was just they noticed some, like, what do they say, herniations or something like that. And I'm like, is that good or bad? And they're like, well, you might want to keep watch of your diet and your gut and whatnot, because their biggest worry was not just blockage, but what they call leaky gut. And that's when there's tears in the intestines that's leaking all your junk into your body, which could be dangerous and deadly. Um, so I have to watch on certain things, and one of the things are like, try to cut back on certain grains, and I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, oh, you might not want to eat, a lot of seeds or anything like that. I'm like, that had become my diet, was like these 12 grain, 21 grain breads, which are really good, but without teeth, they can hurt. Um, yeah, I really think, well, with Jerry's doctor, um, the not the colonoscopy doctor, but the cancer doctor that we see here in town. He's not really a cancer doctor, but he's like the quarterback for a lot of stuff that's going on with Jerry Ann and her health. But yeah, I feel that I need to press my primary for a sleep study, because, between Jerry Ann's um, difficulties with not only just going to sleep but staying asleep, but her breathing and whatnot. Because my biggest worry is, see, the cancer that she has, which is a stage 4 kidney cancer. That's where it started. And usually her type of cancer goes from kidney to lungs to bone. Luckily, according to our current knowledge, it went from kidney to bone, skipped to lungs. So she's not having like a lot of lung issue for breathing. It's just she's having problems with sleeping and snoring and whatnot. And hers is not seasonal, like mine is seasonal. Mine is usually when my allergies are bugging me, which is usually like spring and autumn. But because of the weird weather we've been having here in Missouri, it's been just about last 3 months worth. Usually I get like early spring to mid spring, and then from mid spring to early to mid autumn, I'm not having any allergy problems or any health issues with breathing and sinuses and whatnot. But from like mid spring to throughout the month of September, I will have allergy problems. I'll have breathing problems. But like normally during the depth of summer and the depth of winter, I have no breathing problem whatsoever. So I have no idea what's going on with me anymore. I just know I'm getting older and I'm having more problems than I'm used to, and discovering things that I hoped I would never get, because I thought, if anything, if I had gotten arthritis, it would have been like just my hands and legs and feet, not my back. No, I have back problems. NM, I have no idea. Yeah, I don't have allergies during the wintertime because my only allergen or my only allergy problem is grass. Yeah, grass. Sometimes not even grass. Sometimes it's leaf mold. It's mostly like leaf mold. Um, so I don't have problems during the wintertime because everything goes kind of dormant during the wintertime. So it's like no allergies during the wintertime, hardly any allergies during the wintertime. And this year has not been as bad as I've had when I was younger. Because when we first discovered I had allergies, it was basically anything that pollinated would cause me to have an allergy attack. And where we lived in Arizona, a suburb of Phoenix called Mesa, well, the road that we had to take from Mesa to get to my aunt's house or to get into the actual city would go through orange and grapefruit orchards. And when the orchards were in bloom and their pollen was getting released and all that fun stuff, forget about it. I would be laid in bed with my Vicks inhaler, my breathing inhaler. I had like 4 to 5 different medicines for allergies alone, between inhalers and pills. And one of those pills that I had to take for a 13, 14-year-old boy, it was like a horse pill. It's like, and nobody ever thought about cutting the thing in half. So trying to swallow that alone was like, you know, I'll go back to sleep. I know you're using my foot as a pillow. My pillow as a foot. But yeah, my teenage years, because it was '84 when Dad retired from the military, and then it was at least a year to 2 years after that he passed away. But we lived in Arizona. We lived in West Arizona. We lived in East Arizona. We lived in Phoenix, West Phoenix, South Phoenix, Mesa, Paradise Valley. You know, we lived all over Phoenix. And the one reason why he wanted to retire in Arizona was because his sister-in-law and her kids, they were all in their 20s, late teens, early 20s, or beyond. I think Matthew was maybe 25, 30 years old. He is the second oldest. So it's Matthew, Susan, Luke, Mark, and then Debbie. Debbie was like maybe 10 to 15 years my elder. So, but yeah. And because my dad's side of the family have had various illnesses that most of them died before they were in their 50s. I think his sister, my Aunt Kay, only survived as long as she did was because my father and Kay were like almost like twins. They were practically attached to the hip, and they took care of each other throughout their existence. Of course, 40s and 50s, you're poor, you're eating government cheese, and your meals are basically water, milk, and flour. Making homemade biscuits and gravy from water, milk, and flour. And maybe if you get lucky every so often, you get a slab of bacon. And that was like 3 square meals if they had enough for 3 square meals. People nowadays talk about how poor some of us are. I'm one of them. I look back at the stories that my dad told me about his upbringing, and I go, I'm not poor. I'm not really poor. I mean, I got enough food and whatnot in my refrigerator. I'm not scrounging for government cheese or things like that. Yes, I do have food stamps to help me pay for my food. Yes, I go to some of the food banks and whatnot to get, to get things I can't get at the regular grocery store, or just keep enough supplies in my house to survive. But it's just the way it was back then. And the sad thing is, and I'm not going to talk about people, I'm just going to talk about situations. Sad thing is we're starting to hit another recession like the 40s. And people don't realize it because a lot of people who are smart with their money, which unfortunately I'm not, say that we're not, but I'm like, look around. You've got more people looking for food stamps. You've got more people looking out for, handouts at school for their kids, going to food banks, doing whatever they can just to survive. While those who don't have to worry about doing that are like, yeah, you're just a bum. You need a job, blah blah. Well, I can't get a job, you know, unless I have the intelligence or the ability to type and get a technical job and work from home. I can't really work out in the regular workforce because of my back. I can't stand for long periods of time. I can't carry over 10 pounds without problems. You know, a lot of jobs that I'm used to, I can do. I can't do anymore because of back issues. And people are just like, "Oh, you're making excuses." No, I'm not. I don't make excuses for anybody. Never made excuses for myself when it came to doing what I had to do, or doing what I needed to do. You know, unless and unless you want me to be popping um, codeine like Tic Tacs, I can't work a regular job. Yeah, that's the one downside. There's a lot of people who need the food stamps to help them out, who are making just a little too much money for the government or the state or whoever does food stamps. Say, oh yeah, yeah, you got too many bills. You don't make enough money. You need food stamps. But you know, and then when it comes to that, it's like I hope for people like you that can't get food stamps even though you need them, um, that you have like your local food banks and um, charity groups that will help you out. Um, the church that me and Jerry want to start attending or go to, um, they have twice a month a food bank. That they give people a box or two worth of food. You go in there with a box or anything like that that you can carry your what they hand out to you, and they ask you, do you want this? No, okay. Do you want that? No, okay. There's every so often I go through there and they're like, do you want any jalapenos? And I'm like, no, no, thank you. No, that's too spicy for me. But they also give out like these bottles of what they call Italian flavored mayonnaise. And I love that. I love that on my sandwiches. And I'm like, sure, I'll take one. And last time I went through, they were like, nobody's really buying them. You want more than one? I'm like, I'll take as many as you want to give me. Of course, I wasn't trying to be greedy. I was just saying, whatever you whatever you put in my basket, I'll be happy. Granted, they gave me two, which I think is probably the limit. I understand because I don't know how many other people like that particular flavored mayonnaise, but boy, do I love it. I've used it for sandwiches. I've used it for pasta salad. I use it on top of like a fry, or not a fry, but an oven cooked reheat type chicken patty. Made chicken sandwich that way. Oh my, I can't get enough of it. Um, well, see, oh, I can understand the embarrassment, but because let me just tell you my story. I was basically raised by the military through my father. No, I did not go to military school. I just went to regular schools, but my father was in the Air Force, and my father was a big component of. Um, he would take whatever somebody would give him, but he would not go asking for it. Um, Dad and my father would always find a way to repay them. Um, like he had I mean, when he retired from the Air Force and he was working for McDonnell Douglas, he was on the assembly line for the Apache. Um, and my father was a big guy. So some of the places he had to get to, like the tail boom of the Apache, which is very narrow, he had to squeeze in there to do his job. My father never taught me to be a beggar. My father never taught me to um, ask for handouts. It took a combination of desperation, my wife and my mom basically saying this is not something to be embarrassed about. It's something you need to do to survive, to make sure you have food in that you can put on your table. You know, my father always taught me that the three most important things in life was a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food on the table. Um, and I had to really dig deep to say, okay, yeah, I need to go to the food bank, or I need to go to any one of the locations or centers or whatever that help people out who are in need. So it's not an easy thing for me to have like a um, GoFundMe page or a place people can donate money towards me, and that money, when I go to cash it out or whatnot, I give back about 10% or something like that. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's hard for me to have what I have to have as like donations or food banks or things like that. It's hard for me. It's kind of it was kind of an embarrassment, but now I look at it going, no, it's a necessity, because if there weren't groups out there to help people out that need the help, who are legitimately in need of the services provided by the community or by the government or by whomever, because you know I'm not one to do that. So what I do is more out of necessity than anything else. Yet I've got all these people who want to be naysayers and saying, one negative thing or another, which I'm just kind of like, you don't know my situation. You haven't walked a mile on my shoe. And for the most important thing that annoys me, like I said on Jerry Ann's channel, to be judged by others when nobody on this plane of existence has the right to judge anybody. You know, the court of law, the courts and the laws and whatnot are made up by men to judge other men, but in essence, they really don't have the right to do that because they're not God. The only person who has the right or the power to judge us for whom we are is God, because God is the only one who really, really knows us. Knows our hearts, knows the reasons why we do things. You know, they're not in my skin. They're not walking a mile in my shoes. They probably never will walk a mile in my shoes. But they want to sit in judgment. I'm like, yeah, okay, go ahead, sit in judgment. When we get upstairs to the pearly gates, God's going to use your judgment against another person as weights on the scale. At least that's my take of it. That's my opinion of it. But anyhow, I'm getting close to. Oh, I'm over. Oh, I'm close to an hour. Um, I want to get off and I don't know if I want to take a nap or just sit in bed and play on my tablet, but get her to take a nap, get little one here to take a nap and deal with food. Well, like I said, it's. I personally think it's in your heart to make a decision of what you want to do or need to do. Whether you're helping somebody to get a little money for gas, or if you're filling out the paperwork for your local food bank or whatnot. You know, that's that's up to you. But don't be embarrassed by it, because if you need it and you really are needing it, and you're not like doing it just to take advantage of a system that's out there to help people, you shouldn't be embarrassed. Happy pause. What are you talking about? Oh, well, that's non-scripture. Because it is actually scripture that we're not supposed to be judging each other. That's job. That job is taken up by God, um, and it's all over the New Testament. Exactly, Caroline. Nobody should be embarrassed for to get help, for asking for help, because if you're truly needing help, then there's nothing wrong with it. It's the people who want to take advantage of the system that should be embarrassed. But if you truly need the help with food, gas, paying your bills, don't be embarrassed by it, because you're doing it to be able to afford your life. Even though a lot of us might be scraping the bottom of the barrel to afford our lives, there's no embarrassment or wrong for asking for help. Um, but yeah, I mean, so ow, excuse me. I'm sorry, Oreo. Did I disturb you? Did I take away your pillow? Huh? I had to move, and my pillow was under her head. Because again, I mean, because of certain problems that I have with my lower back, I get to shift around a lot. It makes it look like I'm fidgety or nervous or something like that. No, it's just because of my back. Yes, Carolyn, it's called survival. Well, hey, that's perfect. You're volunteering to help out others, to make you feel, good about the the help you ask for, which is that's there's no problem with that. It's good. Okay. I read a passage in Jerry's blog about this very subject of being judgmental. Um, it's not for us to judge. You know, we can help each other out, but we're not supposed to judge each other. We're supposed to be beneficial and helpful and take grace and be great. And be might be saying the wrong word, graceful for helping helping each other out. Some of us can do it financially. Some of us can do it with actual service. Whether it's helping take care of a family member, or babysitting your neighbor's dog, or house sitting your friend's house with dogs or cats or animals or whatnot. You know, there's all kinds of things. Oops, sorry, Oreo, I did not mean to scare you. There's all kinds of things that we can do in the service of others, or as I look at it, because it it was put out there by Jesus to be a service unto others. You know, and yes, I understand the whole render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and render unto God what is God's. But the thing is, personally, the way I look at it, everything is God's. Everything that we have since the dawning of time is because of God. It's God who put the idea for somebody to invent the wheel. It was God that put the idea to use the wheel to make a windmill to grind the grains for flour. You know, it was an idea put into a man's head to create the light bulb, how to harness electrical energy, how to make a car. Everything around us is because of God. You know, now there's a lot of things out there that basically somebody took God's idea that was turned into a useful, helpful invention that some person decided, hey, if I can manipulate this energy, or I can do this and do this, I can make a weapon. Well, granted, at the beginning of time, the spear, the arrow, and the knife were not just weapons, but they were tools for survival. It's just because of one thing or another, you know, throughout history, those tools used for survival were turned into weapons of mass destruction. And that right there is when I see that, I'm like, no. Great idea for transportation and whatnot, but not a good idea for weapons of war. Why does mankind have to commit war against mankind? Well, in the Tower of Babel. Language division. Language division turned into division of nations. Division of nations turned into squabbles or fights about borders or whose territory was whose. And it just progressed down to today. And, you know, it's upsetting to realize that sparks of ideas, or ideas put into somebody's head to create something that will help the human race better themselves or survive. And then we became so arrogant in our knowledge and control of whatever we think we have control over, to basically turn away from what God wanted us to do. God basically said, we are here for, you know, it's not specifically written the way I'm going to say it, but basically God put us here on earth to be stewards of this world. We're no longer stewards of this world. We're destroyers of this world. We are taking away old world growth forests, which takes away the planet's ability to create oxygen. Yeah. We're polluting the atmosphere with chemicals, and we're doing it in mass quantity, which is destroying the ozone, which is going to cause radiation and cosmic energy and solar flare energy and all that kind of stuff to basically cook the planet, to literally burn the planet up. And God did say, after the flood, next time it won't be by water, but by fire. I know. So it's just baffling how mankind has turned away from their real purpose of being here. So it's annoying. Yes. Tomorrow she's getting picked up by a lift. So basically, she had to contact a group of people kidney, through through kidney cancer or something like that. Um, and they're going to come and pick her up and take her to her appointment tomorrow because our van is it would be a hazard to drive it because um, the left rear tire, the treads are starting to deteriorate, and the wires that make up part of the tire system is starting to expose. So basically, if I were driving the van and hit something just right, I could have a blowout and get into an accident, and both me and Jerry will end up in the hospital. So we decided to go that route. She is getting a medical discount, so she won't have to pay full price or something like that. Or, oh no, what it was is the medical people, the insurance or something like that, um, basically have been paid for this ride. So it's basically already been taken care of. So, speaking of stewards, are you familiar with the book of yeah, can't say it. Sorry, I have no teeth. Yes, I am somewhat familiar with it. I'm not I don't have it memorized, but I know the basics of Thessalonians. There we go. I was able to say it. Um, I would probably have to reread it to know what you're talking about. But see, I know one of the issues with studying the Bible today, or probably for a very long time, um, yes, we have the books of the Bible in a chronological order, which one was written first to which was written last. The thing is, in order to really study and understand the Bible to its fullest, you need a very good, or I need a very good study Bible, which I have buried amongst my books, that when you go to read it at the bottom, it will tell you, it will say, it will give you the number of the chapter and verse and tell you to go back to a certain chapter and verse in or the Old Testament to, correspond together so you understand what they're trying to convey. But yes, it is. Well, I'll be honest with you. Not only is Thessalonians a good guide to stewardship, but I'm going to say at least 90% of the New Testament alone is a good guide to stewardship. Now, when I was in Ozark Christian College back in I want to say 96, 97, my OT professor, Old Testament professor, Gary Zustiak, he taught us that even though we have to read Old Testament, the Old Testament is basically building blocks up to the New Testament. But the New Testament corresponds with certain areas of the Old Testament. So basically the New and the Old are basically a continuation of each other. It helps you learn more and understand more of the Word of God. Now, I especially suggest you have either a study guide for the New Testament, or at least, especially if you want to understand the prophecies of the end times, get a Revelations study guide. It will help you understand what to expect in the end times during Revelation. Oh, she got her zoomies. Roland, I don't understand your question. Because I don't know if you're talking, I have no idea what you're trying to say there, Roland. But, I mean, for anybody who wants to study the Bible, there's a lot of good Bibles out there. I would definitely suggest you either get a NIV or a New King James, the new translation of the King James Bible, or the American Standard. I prefer the NIV. It's basically the New International Version. The reason why that is because a lot of the NIV Bibles are printed in such a way that it's like plain English. You don't have to try to understand. You don't have to try to translate it or read between the lines or anything like that, because, in truth, there is no in between the lines. The Bible is straightforward. There's no second guessing. There's no in between the lines. There's no, oh, um, you know, this is what it really is supposed to mean. No, it basically puts it out there the way it means. Um, and that's the way I feel about the NIV. Gummy for PA? I still don't know what you're talking about. Um, there's an excellent daily YouTube channel speaking on current events and end times called Watchman the River Channel. I have heard of it. I've never really looked at it. Usually Monday through Friday we are watching um, a lady on YouTube who does Bible sermons and stuff like that. And I think she even does like some current events, but I'm not positive on that one, because usually after the prayer session I'm usually getting busy making breakfast or something like that. But her channel is called The Booted Chick. Um, she's a really nice lady, really intuitive in the Bible and whatnot. She does prayer requests, so you can put in prayer requests, and then when she does the prayer of the day, your request will be in there. And if you did put a request in like a week or so previously to the current session, if she doesn't say your name or the prayer in that particular prayer on that particular day, she has it written down. She keeps everything written down, and I'm pretty sure she reads or does those prayers, off channel. Um, let's see here. A lot of people do read the English Standard. That's your recommendation there, Happy Paws. That's great. I'm not knocking it, but like I said, out of all the Bibles I've read, and I've read quite a few in my lifetime, I prefer the NIV. Um, it was actually suggested to me by my Acts teacher in Ozark Christian College. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. He's now like the dean of men or something like that, or the president of Ozark Christian College. Um, I know Gary's enthusiastic the most because I communicated with him after I left Ozark Christian College. I was only able to finish 1 year due to grade problems, and I'll explain that in a second. Actually, I'll explain it to you right now. Grade problems is basically I will sit there and I will read the material and I will learn the material and I will do the book work and whatnot, and I have great scores. I have great scores. But because college does scores by their tests, I have test anxiety. And they did not have a program for people with learning disability. So Gary would come to me and go, "Look, what's going on, Jim? I see your paperwork when I know you know what we're doing, but why can't you do the test?" And I said, I panic. I freeze. My brain shuts down, you know. And he said, "Unfortunately, I cannot grade you for your bookwork, paperwork. I have to grade you by your test scores." And I was like, "Okay, I understand that." But the thing was, Gary kept on, he kept on encouraging me not to allow the test score grade to discourage me from pushing forward. And, you know, after I left, he gave me his like personal email and actually phone number. And there were a couple of times where I've called him up with questions about various things. Um, I don't want to get anybody mad, but if you're Mormon, um, yeah, I had a question about Mormons because I had a Mormon come to my door and knock on the door and wanted to teach me about, you know, Christ according to the Mormons. Actually, it was more about John Smith than actual Jesus Christ. And I was like, not at this point in time, because at that point in time, I was like, I've got too much other things going on. I don't need, you know, another religion to take residency in my brain. But I talked to Gary about it, and he was like, no, no. Because I said, you know, because when I said Mormon, he goes, Mormon, don't you mean morons? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know nothing about them. So, okay, Jerry, I'm almost done. So I've been on here almost an hour and a half. But I, you know, I never really got into Mormonism because it just seemed a little far-fetched. Some guy wandering the deserts of Utah and finding golden tablets with, I don't know what was written on it, but I'm like, yeah, okay, hold on. It's one thing to have Moses climb up Mount Ararat or whatever it was called to have the finger of God carve the laws, the Ten Commandments on stone tablets and carve them out, carve the stone tablets perfectly the way they were carved out of a mountainside and have them come out like they were. And I'm like, yeah, fine. You know, wandering the desert, that was some sort of delusion, and you found gold. You didn't find gold with something written on it or tablets. You found chunks of gold. But that's, you know, that's from what I read through library. So anyhow, I've been on here a little bit longer than I wanted to, and I do need to get off to do things. So I will see you guys later. Hopefully I will try to do some vlogs this week. I don't know. But until then, you guys have a good day. Enjoy. Bye.